When you get hurt, really hurt, you don't talk about it. You get quiet. You pull inward. You keep showing up to the surface of your life, the work, the responsibilities, the people who need you, while something underneath goes completely unaddressed. I know this pattern. I've lived this pattern, and I've watched it cost men things they were never meant to lose. Not in one dramatic moment, but in the slow accumulation of everything that goes quiet when a man decides the hurt is his to carry alone. If that's familiar, this message is specifically for you. Today, I'm going to show you three things. First, why the retreat makes complete sense, and why understanding that is the first step towards changing it. Second, what the retreat is doing to your relationship with God that most men never see coming. And third, what healing actually looks like for a man who retreats. Not the version you've been told, the version that actually works. First Kings chapter 19. Elijah, one of the most powerful men of God in all of scriptures, just came off the greatest victory of his ministry. And his response? He ran. He went alone into the wilderness. He sat under a tree and asked God to let him die. I have had enough, he said. I have had enough. That is not the language of a weak man. That is the language of a strong man who has been carrying too much for too long without allowing anyone, including God, to carry it with him. Elijah retreated, and God didn't condemn him for it. God didn't rebuke him. God sent an angel, fed him, let him sleep, and then asked him a question. What are you doing here, Elijah? Not why did you run? Not get back out there. What are you doing here? That question is an invitation to honest examination. God already knew where Elijah was. He wanted Elijah to say it out loud, to stop managing it, to bring the real version of what he was carrying into God's presence. That is the model for healing. And that is what this video is built around. Stay with me. Before I say a single word about healing, I need to explain why the retreat makes complete sense. The male retreat response is not emotional immaturity. It is not avoidance in the broken sense. It is protection. And to understand why men retreat, you have to understand what the retreat is protecting against. When a man is genuinely hurt, expressing that hurt requires a temporary surrender of control. You have to let someone else into the experience. You have to be seen in a moment of reduced composure. You have to trust that what you hand over will be handled with care. And for the man who has been strong for a long time, that surrender feels more dangerous than the wound itself. The original hurt is painful. The vulnerability of expressing it feels like a second wound on top of the first. So the retreat is the solution. You go inward, manage it yourself, regain composure before allowing anyone in. And in theory, that's not unreasonable. The problem is what happens in practice, because the retreat rarely ends the way it's supposed to. The man goes inward intending to process, and instead he manages, he functions, he stays busy enough that the hurt doesn't get addressed, just deferred. And deferred does not resolve on its own. It waits. Here's the specific reason Christian men retreat, and it has nothing to do with weakness. Let me describe what actually happens inside a male retreat, because most men, including the man in the retreat, don't fully see all three. The first thing that happens is the hurt gets filed, not resolved, filed. The man takes the painful experience, the betrayal, the disappointment, the loss, the wound, and he puts it somewhere internal where it is no longer the loudest thing. He can still function, he can still show up, but the file is there and it is not closed. The second thing, the guard goes up. And here's what most men don't realize. The protective walls of the retreat don't just keep out the pain, they keep out everything. The people who love him, the people trying to reach him, the intimacy he needs most, in the moments he needed most. The guard doesn't discriminate, it just closes. The third thing, and this is the most dangerous, the distance starts to feel like safety. The quiet becomes comfortable. The solitude becomes familiar. And what began as protection becomes a residence. You've done this more than once. And every time, part of you knew something wasn't being dealt with. This is where it connects to your faith, what the retreat is doing to your relationship with God. Here is the dimension of this that almost no one addresses. The retreat response is not compartmentalized. It doesn't stay in the relational part of your life. It enters your spiritual life with the same precision, the same walls, the same distance that starts to feel like safety. What you do with people when you're hurt, you do with God. You go quiet. You pull back. You keep functioning spiritually. You still pray. You still show up. You still do the surface of faith, while something underneath goes unaddressed. And you wonder why your intimacy with God feels distant in this season. Why prayer feels like going through the motions. Why the connection that used to feel immediate now feels like speaking into an empty room. You didn't lose God. You retreated from Him. The same way you retreat from everyone when something cuts deep. And God, who does not force entry, who stands at the door and knocks, rather than breaking it down, God is waiting. On the other side of the same wall you built to keep the pain contained. This is the part I want you to really sit with, because this is where the real cost lives. The cost of staying in a retreat doesn't arrive as a crisis. It arrives as a slow accumulation of things that are no longer available to you. Intimacy, the ability to be fully present in the relationship that matters most. The capacity for joy that isn't performed. The sense of being known. not just needed, not just relied upon, but actually known. Some men stay in the retreat so long that they lose access to the man that existed before the womb, the one who was open, who trusted, who allowed himself to be known before he knew that being known could cost him something. That man is still there. He didn't leave. He's waiting behind the wall for longer than either of you intended. There's a book that helped shape how I think about this. Wild at Heart by John Elridge. He makes the case that the wounds men carry in silence are almost always connected to a deeper question about their identity, a question that never got answered the way it needed to be. If what we're talking about today is resonating with something deeper, this book goes to the root of it. I'll drop a link in the description. Here's what healing actually looks like for a man who retreats, not what you've been told. The standalone advice given to men who retreat is almost always the same. Find someone to talk to. Open up. Be vulnerable. And that advice is not wrong, but it skips a step that makes it possible. Before you can let someone in, you have to stop lying to yourself about what's in there. The filed hurt, the closed wound, the things you put away and told yourself you dealt with because you kept functioning. You didn't deal with it. You managed it. And management is not healing. The first step of healing for a man who retreats is the private admission to himself, to God, in the quiet where no one else is. I am hurt. Not I was hurt and I processed it. Not I'm over it. Just I am hurt. Present tense. Unresolved. Still here. That admission is not weakness. It's the first honest thing you've said about it since it happened. And honesty is always the beginning of the way back. There's a second book I want to put in your hands. The Way of the Wild Heart. Also by John Eldridge. It's specifically about the journey of healing for men who have been carrying wounds they haven't known how to address. Practical, honest, built for men. Link in the description. Before today ends, find 10 minutes alone. No phone, no noise. And say these 2 words out loud. Not in your head, out loud. I am hurt. Then name what it is. Not to anyone else. Just between you and God. The wound you filed away. The thing you kept functioning through. The hurt that went on the ground because you didn't have a safe place to put it. Name it. And then say one more thing. I am done carrying this alone. That is not defeat. That is the decision that changes everything. The man who walks back from a sustained retreat, who does the honest work, who brings the wound to God, who allows himself to be known in the places he had closed, that man does not come back as a lesser version of himself. He comes back deeper, with a capacity for intimacy he didn't have before the wound, with a relationship with God that has moved past the surface into something real. The retreat was not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a deeper one. The wound that sent you inward was not designed to keep you there. It was designed to create the space where something real could finally be built. In the quiet, in the honesty, in the moment you stop managing and start healing. That moment is available to you right now. Before you close this, don't rush past this. What wound have you filed away and called handled that is quietly shaping how close you let anyone get, including God? Let that stay with you. And if what I said today hit close to home and you want to talk it through one-on-one, I have a link in the description where you could book a private call with me. 30 minutes, just us. We'll walk through whatever you're carrying. If you found this at the right moment, comment "Still Healing" below. Subscribe for weekly content built for Christian men who are ready to stop managing and start actually healing. If you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button. It tells YouTube send this out to others and it helps me. Also, if you do subscribe, consider hitting the bell icon. That way you'll get notification anytime I bring out a new video. Thank you for watching, and if you have a little extra time, check out this video. I think you'll enjoy it.